off the low end. I basically do that on almost every track besides the bass and the kick drum, because that is the two instruments or the two elements in my track that does have the bass on. But besides that, we don't want any bass from anything else, because the bass is very the bass can clash. Like if you have a lot of bass going on in every instrument, that's not going to be good in the mix, because it's going to take up all of the space. You're just going to hear a lot of bass, and you're not going to hear any other instrument. So it's good to take off the low end from everything besides kick and bass, and like stuff then that you want to hear the bass on. So that is what I do, and I recommend to do that. That is that for the clap. Then I have some perc loops here. Just like a stereo wide percussion loop, and that's also like samples from a sample pack. You will have all the samples from that I use here. You will have that in the sample pack folder, so you can just check it out and just import it and do every setting that I have on here. So the first plugin I have on this is a sample delay, and it's like a delay that is very, very, very small. It's almost, you can't hear any echo or something like that because it's so small. But when it is so small, you're gonna hear like a stereo wide effect instead of like an echo. So yeah, it's very good to have it like that. You're gonna hear like a massive stereo widening effect. If you're on headphones, you're not gonna hear that, but if you have like a nice big stereo system, you're gonna hear that like very, very much. Then I have a kickstart. It's just a sidechain plugin from Nicky Romero. We're gonna use the kickstart a lot in this this course, so I have it on here because I wanted to have some sidechain when I was doing the creative process. So I'm gonna take that off, and I'm gonna do buses of every type of instrument or every type of element in this track. Like for instance, I'm gonna go and make a bus of every bass. Like I'm gonna group the basses like this. I'm gonna do a bus, and then I'm gonna throw in like a kickstart for the side chain on that. So I don't have to use the kickstart plugin on every single instrument, because then when we're gonna arrange the track, it's gonna be a lot harder to like having to automate the side chain, for instance, on every track. We can just do it on the buses. It's gonna be like, I don't know, 5-6 buses maybe, or less. Yeah, so other than that, I have EQ, just rolling off the low end. I'm rolling off the low end as much as I can to the stage that I like the instrument or the sound is getting like, I don't know, the original sound is going off, you know. In this case, I roll off to 1100 hertz, and it's sounded good. So what you still want to do on almost every track, also, like you're rolling off low end on almost every track, but you should always roll off some high end too, because I mean, this is what we're going to hear anyways. So I mean, that's good to do. If you're gonna have like this on every track, there's gonna be so much sparkle around here that it could actually hurt like ears to listen to a track. But we're gonna do that later on in the mixing stage. Alright, that's the perc loops. Now it's time for the first plonky bass. I don't know what's that. It's actually 2 plonky bass in here. Yeah, we have to name these tracks. Like I don't even know what this is. I think this is sub, but it's named as plonky bass. Yeah, so let's see what's here first. Alright, that's the deadmau5 synth, as I call it. It's just a Nexus preset. So here in Nexus, I've chosen the sample pack, or the expansion pack actually, called Deep House and the classic stab minor. This is a very cool thing to do in Nexus, is to grab like a chord named CH in the beginning. That means that you're gonna have a chord as like you have to just press one button on your keyboard and you're gonna get a chord. So if this is just minor chords, you're just gonna get minor chords. And for Deep House, you're using almost always just minor chords. So that was very easy to make this chord, this type of chord here. As you can see, it's just like so it's very easy to draw out like a nice minor chord. Yeah, so as you can see, I have a green plugin here also. That's just a MIDI effects, and I always use this for the preset called Maximize Velocity, and that is just because I want to have maximize velocity, as I said. I just don't want to like slam my keyboard like all the time to hear the max velocity. So I just have this plugin on, and I can play softly and still have the max velocity of the synth. So that is that. I don't use the Valhalla Room. I use the echo here. As you can see, I use this setting, and with a width with just 15% on. It should be like this maybe. I just want to hear some echo in this instrument. And I don't know if you can see it, but in the Nexus I always take off the reverb and delay, especially on the main sounds, because I want to make reverb and echo myself. I usually go to the buses, and yeah, I'm usually going that way and make one reverb and one echo for the whole track, so all of the plugins can go to the same reverb and echo. That way the reverbs are not confusing, because if you have like, for instance, like a reverb here, on the other one you have a reverb here, I actually do, but that's just a little. If you would have it like this, and maybe, I don't know, 20 of this to even more, you're gonna have 20 different reverbs. And I mean, that's like having 20 different rooms, because a reverb is actually just a room. It's just your instrument being played in a room. So it's gonna be confusing in your track, you know. So if you want to do a proper mixing and like having all your sounds to be like one, you know, then you should have like 1, 2, or a maximum of 3 different reverbs and echoes in your track. And you can just do it by bussing a reverb or echo. We're gonna do that later on too. Alright, so that's the side chain that we have there, and then I have a EQ, and this was just like playing around with the EQ,